Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World with me, John Jordan. So in this video, we're going to answer the sort of question everyone wants to know about any blockchain game, but we'll discuss it in terms of Soccerverse, and that's either how can I make money, or does this game let me make money? I mean, most blockchain games have some sort of value attached to them, so normally in pretty much every blockchain game you can make money. So we'll sort of discuss this. Obviously, the first thing to say is this is not investment advice. The Soccerverse game hasn't been created so it makes people tons of money. It's not a play-to-earn game either. So some games sort of have this these sort of seasons, or have this ability for a short period of time at least, that people can come in and play for free and earn assets that then maybe worth something they can sell off. That is not really the case in Soccerverse. Soccerverse is designed as a blockchain game because the blockchain allows the game to be like a fully MMO RPG based around decentralized technology, and as part of that you have to have like a crypto token in there, but it also allows lots of really cool things like sort of multiple sort of ownership of assets, and also allows a bunch of community stuff, sort of like DAOs, or they are DAOs really, stuff like that. So just to be clear, the game is not designed so you will make tons of money. Now, it may be that a few people who are very good at this game may be able to make some money. I don't think tons of money is necessarily what you'd be looking to do. So just bear that in mind. But it is a game that has been designed so that sort of financial value moves around the game, and it's not like we're all gonna make it, or whatever those silly acronyms are. But if you are very good at understanding, particularly the player base, the global player base of football players in the world, you can do relatively better than other players. And obviously, if you're very good at playing the football management side of it, which is another side of the game, you'll be rewarded for that as well. So we'll go through this sort of economy, the basic economy, and then we'll sort of go through sort of the value bit of it as well. So the first thing to point out is well, let's just look at my sort of dashboard here. So the first thing, in terms of people just coming into the game and going, right, how do I make money? Just to point out here, so I'm the manager of Bolton. Bolton are in the English 3rd division in Soccerverse. And because I am the manager, I have a wage. So this is my wage here. So I earn 0.5545 Soccerverse coins a week. So a Soccerverse coin is at the moment just over 1 cent, 1 US cent. So basically the wage I earn a week is irrelevant. So in a sense, I am earning, half a cent a week. And if you can manage a higher rated club, you would earn more wages as a manager. But basically, that's not going to be what anyone thinks when they think about making money. They're thinking about, okay, how to make $1,000 from this game. Okay, so you're not going to do that just by being a manager of a team. But obviously, being a manager is sort of, for some people, the cool thing about this game is you can be manager. You see, I'm not very good when I lost my last game 4-1. Another game on Saturday coming up, so see if I can do better, set my tactics. But we can see here that here there is a sort of a idea that there's a prediction. So it says over the next week I could earn 700 Soccerverse coins. So that would be actually be showing it here. So that in USDC, so in the stable coin. So I can actually earn maybe it's not a total prediction, but I could earn maybe $9 a week. So that's that's not nothing. And over the next month I could earn $30, $31. So that's sort of it's sort of the next level up. So how am I, if as a manager I'm not earning anything, how is my account earning these sort of not massive amounts of money, but equally if you could play a game and earn $30 a month, sort of just for playing the game, a lot of people in the world will go, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. I'll have some of that. Right, so how's that happening? So you can see here next to it says my portfolio. So we can see here I own influence in 24 clubs. I have 105,000 SVC, so 132,000 SVC worth of influence. So you can do the math on that if you want to. And I have player influence. There's 35 players, and I actually have 1.6 million influence in those players, and that's actually worth 118,000 SVC coins. So my total influence here is 251,000 So if you want to do the maths, it's a bit over sort of 1 cent, but sort of I don't know, maybe about $3,000 all in. So in that sense, I haven't sort of come in and invested $3,000 per se, but I have bought some come in and bought some club influence. So if we wanted to do that, we would go to the shop, and we can see a whole bunch of teams here, and you come in and you can buy these, because these are high-end teams, diamond packs. Each pack is relatively expensive, so it's $14 for a pack. You get 100 influence, you get 40 influence in Newcastle, and then 6 other clubs you get 10 influence in each. So your influence in total is 100. So that's how you would go in and you would buy influence in those clubs. So there's sort of an upfront cost that you would have to perform in order to get that influence. And then the other part of this is player influence. So we go to player influence. This is my portfolio. So you can see here, this is all the stuff I own in the game. So I have a whole bunch of, quite a lot of Bolton, because I'm the manager of Bolton, but a whole bunch of these other teams as well. So I have, most of these teams, I've never heard of them. I don't know where they are. There's a whole other thing, a video we could do about how you make sure you optimize these teams so they're worth as much as they could be, which is basically about finding managers for them. But we're looking at player influence. So here's a whole bunch of influence of players. So these are all sort of players. There's actually over 160,000 players in Soccerverse. So these are all real life players, and they all have real life ratings that go up and down. In this game, we update them every 6 months, and all these players are attached, or pretty much all these players anyway. But all the players in Soccerverse are attached to a team. So we could look at let's look at this guy here, Ian Sabria. So here he is. He's actually in Bolton. So I actually manage him. He's a young player. He's 70 rated out of 100. He doesn't play every week actually. He did score a couple of weeks ago, so that was good. So we can see here who are the influencers. So these are the people who own influence in him. So this guy here, protagonist, owns half of the influence. I only own 5%. I'm actually his agent. Is that going to show up here? Where are we? Yeah, I'm his agent as well. So I sort of worked that out. I did a video about that where I actually bought enough influence and spoke to the protagonist account as well, and you need 5% to be his agent. So I'm his agent and his manager. So I actually get some money for being his agent as well. So talking about sort of how the value flows in the game, you get a bit of money for being a manager. You can only manage one club, but you could be an agent of many players. So I'm actually the agent of 3 players, and every week I get a bit of SVC from them as well. But we can see here, this is his value in the game. So I actually bought him in a transfer deal. So the club, Bolton, had to pay money to another club to get him, and then he also has wages. So 9,260. No, what is this? 9,000, basically 9,260 SVC a week. And that wage is split between the influence holders. So when we look back, that was the so that protagonist here. So protagonist gets 50% of those wages. I get 5% of those wages. So you can suddenly see now I'm a manager. I don't really get much money, like none, but that'll be a tiny amount. And then, but then if I own a small amount of influence in other clubs, I get a bit of their winnings. If I own influence in players, I get a percentage of their wages. As these players' ratings change as well, their value in the game in terms of their influence goes up and down as well. So that's that doesn't give me direct money, but I could sort of buy and sell that influence if I wanted to. So we can see if you go to payouts, what they're saying here. So the agent wages is not very much. The influence of payout was this. The starting lineup bonus, if he starts in a game, is this. His goals bonus is this. So depending on what the player's doing, if he's not playing, you can see that the startup bonus is the sort of biggest amount, even though it's a very small number here. But so you really want your players to be playing. So you start to see the complexity of this sort of layering of how this stuff works in the game. So So let's go actually back to the portfolio here. So here we start to get an idea. So again, it's sort of showing the influence. So 24 clubs and so 35 players. So I've really focused on the players. So when I get paid some SVC in the game, or I can go and directly buy SVC in the game as well. I'll have a look at that. I then really go, and I'm not a great expert, but I sort of look for players, and often you look for sort of young players. Let's go back to my player influence here. So we can see here, actually it doesn't have the their age on this one, but basically these are sort of young up and coming players that I think are going to do better. So this guy here, Thomas Watson, he's only 19, and he's playing for Brighton at the moment. He's not played in the Premier League yet. I don't know if he will this season. Obviously, some of these are better well known. So, Scott McTominay is pretty well known. Conor Bradley, young guy at Liverpool, probably not playing very much. Tyler J. Dibbling, he's another young guy. Mike Pendle, he's a goalkeeper who Chelsea have an interest in. So you sort of look for these sort of younger players, and you sort of getting in early on them. So you're obviously getting their wages all the time, but as they in real life sort of get better, and also sort of in the Soccerverse world, probably go to better clubs in Soccerverse world, their wages will go up potentially quite a lot. And then obviously if you own 10% now and you don't sell any influence, then in a few years time maybe that 10% you still own 10% of them if you haven't sold anything, and then that wage is going to be much bigger. So you can start to see how the sort of the wheels move of sort of the economy in Soccerverse. And I would say it's very slow, particularly on the player side. Their ratings are updated every 6 months in terms of their real world value. So let's have a quick look at this guy. I don't know how much he went up last time. So not very much actually. So he's been 70, and then on the change of the last season, he went from so he was 70, then he went 73, and then now he's 74. So he's only 17 now. So he may do really well, he may not do really well. We'll see. But that's sort of so that's why I say Soccerverse is definitely not a play to earn game, because you're having to wait at least every 6 months if you're involved in the player side at least. You're waiting every 6 months for players to get uprated, and that's sort of when the change in their value in the game happens. And it's actually a similar thing for clubs. So if you buy influence in clubs, if the club gets relegated, then the amount of SVC that they're getting in that lower league is much lower. So if you own 10% of that club, then your earnings are going to be reduced. But if the team that you own some influence in gets promoted, then you can start to see quite big increases if you get to like the top leagues, the top tier leagues. Not really in English. If I got Bolton to the English Division 1, then I would get more salary as a manager, still not very much. But the other, because I have a whatever it's 3.5% influence holding, that would start to go up. It might double, might triple. So you can start to see that this is a long-term game, but it is it is rewarding skill. So it's rewarding skill that I've spent sort of using ChatGPT and researching up-and-coming players from Argentina or whatever, or just sort of reading news stories and going, I wonder what he's worth in Soccerverse. So I'll go and see if I can get some influence in him. So that might some of those won't pay off, but some of them in a year's time may be worth more in the game. And a similar thing for the clubs. If I can get Bolton promoted, then I won't get Bolton promoted. I think I'm going to get relegated this season if I'm not careful. But anyway, you can sort of see. It's the skill that's getting you more rewards in the game. So we're getting more rewards in the game. We're getting more SVC. That's the token, the crypto token, runs on the Polygon blockchain. So how does that then actually work? So this is in a sense the really clever thing here. So we go. No, it's not there. Is it? I always get that wrong. So we go to SVC. So this is a effectively where people buy and sell the in-game token. So obviously all these are running on the blockchain, it's all running on Polygon, and it just says free moves don't work here. So some people are playing Soccerverse just using a social login. You need to have some Polygon, some Pol token in order to use this bit of the game. Because this bit is basically the exchange, but this is a peer-to-peer exchange. So it's not like Binance, where Binance is running the infrastructure. it's more like a Uniswap, where it's just a sort of a decentralized exchange, as we call it. But it's a little bit different to Uniswap, because this isn't selling into a liquidity pool. If you don't know what that means, it doesn't really matter. But with a liquidity pool, you can basically, you have two tokens paired together, and you can just buy and sell them, and the price changes depending on how much of each is in the pool. But there's a fixed amount of sort of value in the pool. This is actually other players of the game are buying and selling. So we can, if we look here, if you wanted to buy 1,000 Soccerverse, you would put in here 1,000, and it would just look up the lowest price. So we can see here the lowest price. So there's 1,845 SBC at this price token. So if so that would be the price it gave me. If I wanted to buy 2,000, the price would be different, because it would be taking 1,845 of this, and then the remainder from this other pool. So you get a different price. And here it tells me the how much it's going to cost me. So this is you can do this in USDC, or this is called Rapchi. So there's two different currencies you can do it in. These are both sort of blockchain currencies. So doesn't really matter there. But if you do that, it goes through, and you're signing. In this case, I'll be signing it through my MetaMask wallet. In fact, you can see all the trade histories here. So you can see the last trade was actually me buying 1,000 SVC from this account here, Ross Vaughan. So this actually sort of shows how if you had done really well in the game and spent your time and been patient and had SVC that you wanted to sell, how does that work? Okay, so we can see actually in my wallet here I've got 950. Actually should be more of that, but anyway, I need to update it. But if I wanted to sell 500 SVC, so roughly $5, I would put there, and then I would put the price. So I can put any price in. I can put, obviously, if I want it to go quickly, I'd put it in a lower price. So I'd put it there. I put in 0.3, and then that tells me how much Rapchi I would get in return. And if I did that, I'm not going to do it because I don't want to. But if I did hit sell there, then basically what would happen is it would go 0.3, and there would be 500, and that would be the lowest price. And so if someone came in to buy some, they would buy my SVC, and then I would in return get the Rapchi or USDC, depending on how that was applied. So the interesting thing here is, even if you have SVC, you can't just cash it out like you can do with lots of other cryptocurrencies, where you can just go, here's Uniswap, I'm just going to sell $1,000 of my token and get the pair token. In this case, someone else in the game has to come in and buy it. So that's a really good measure of how healthy the game is, because people could be trying to sell tokens, but if no one's coming in to buy them at that price, or no one's coming in to buy them at all, then basically that means the game economy is dead, because people always want SVC because they want to invest more in the game, or invest. You can inject SVC into the club you're managing to give you a bigger budget, so you can do better transfers and all that sort of stuff. So there is a real sort of supply demand sort of situation going on here. So again, if you are skillful in the game, you can accumulate SVC, but you can't just go to the marketplace and sort of dump it straight away. If you came in here and had I've got loads of SVC I want to get rid of. Yeah, you could create the sell order here, but if no one was coming in and buying it, then you wouldn't sell any. And if you would try to put a large amount in, then it would take a long time for enough people to be buying it. So it just means, compared to pretty much, I would say, every other crypto game, every other blockchain game, there's some real checks and balances in here which mean that the economy is more sustainable than other games. I was going to say is sustainable. It could still be the case for any blockchain game. If people aren't playing the game anymore, if no one wants SBC, then just no one will come in and buy it, and so this sort of game, the game would die in that situation. But it just means it can't have this boom bust situation, because the players who have to make the actions, and that's what sort of makes it work. And equally, no one can just make tons of money really simply by going, I bought an NFT and the price 10x, and then I sold the NFT and made the money. Because in that situation, we've all seen it in blockchain games, the person who gets the money out is really happy, but the person who's left holding the NFT that went up 10 times and then the price has collapsed because no one wants to buy it, he's not happy. So you always get this sort of idea of Ponzi schemes and all this sort of stuff. And I think most blockchain games, even if they don't work out, are not Ponzi schemes, but they have Ponzi type elements, economics in them if they're not careful. And you need to have restrictions around sort of how that can happen. And I think there's lots of ways of doing it. The Soccerverse way is quite a good way of just making it more sustainable. You can't just buy everything up and then dump it. You have to, if you really sort of care about the game, and really the only people who should play this game are people who like football management games, or people who are interested in football players and think they can find the next hot sort of kids who are good at scouting, or good at looking at other people who know how to do scouting. You know, those people can create value in the game, and then maybe over sort of months and years you can, you know, extract probably some of that value. But equally, you know, I've got say 250,000 SVC in the game. I can't just dump those assets. Even in that case, if I decided, oh, I'm going to stop playing Soccerverse now, I would have to go in and try and sell all that influence in all those clubs and players. Again, that's someone else in the game has to come and buy that off me. So that would be a long process. Probably couldn't even sell it all out anyway. So it's not like, oh, I own 10 NFTs, I'm just going to dump them into OpenSea, into the offer pool, and just sort of walk away with the money. This is very much sort of thought through. And this is why, sort of, to some degree, the question is, can I make money in Soccerverse? Is probably the wrong, you know, it's the wrong question. You can answer it. People can make money. Maybe over the next decade, some people will make tons and tons of money by being really good at this sort of stuff. But it will take them a long time to do that, and it won't just be like the typical thing we see in blockchain. And that's why I think Soccerverse, even if you don't like football, is really interesting from a sort of game design point of view. So anyway, I hope that answers your questions. If you have any more questions, stick them in the comments below. And thanks for watching, and see you again soon.